Solutions. So Jennica, if you could please give us a high-level overview of you, Trio Rehab, kind of your journey to date and kind of what you see happening over the next few years.
Thanks so much, Rory. Again, my name is Jennica Colvin. I am the owner of Trio Rehabilitation and Wellness Solutions, and we're located in Boerne, Texas, which is about 30 miles outside of San Antonio, northwest direction, I hope. I am an occupational therapist, and I have been one for 21 years. And about 8 years ago, I opened the clinic with the intent of providing physical, occupational, and speech therapy for the older adult, as there were no other locations providing all three of those services within a 25-mile radius. That left a gaping hole in services much needed by the older adult. So I think that covers part of that question. What was the next part again?
So just kind of your journey, which you kind of covered, and then kind of, is there anything big that you see kind of on the horizon, changes that you're making, growth that you've got?
We are growing. We're a little bit stagnant at the moment because I actually need to hire several other therapists, which includes another physical therapist. That's the largest portion of our company. And so within the horizon, after I get those staff members hired and trained, we do plan to expand per some of the training I've received by Rory by 5%, if not more, every month for at least the next 18 months to 2 years. At that point, I suspect even with the expansion that we will be getting into, we will have outgrown our space. So within the next 5 years, I see us outgrowing the space we're in, or capping how many people we want to see at this location, opening a second location with the same type of intervention, or with something a little bit different that focuses more on the wellness side of our company.
Love it.
Thanks.
So just a quick question. So we've been working with you since April of 22. So give or take 18 months or so. So what drove your decision to look for a business coach?
So one of the biggest decisions was actually pretty easy. It was emotional fatigue. And the second reason was physical fatigue. So I knew that I have always had a passion for the older adult. The reason I went into the field of occupational therapy was actually for my grandfather who had Parkinson's disease. And I felt like I couldn't do anything to help him. Maybe that was because I was a teenager, but I landed myself in a field where I wanted to be able to provide that opportunity. And I wanted to share what I have been learning and knew I could do with other people. I opened the clinic, in all honesty, I had a business plan that was pretty bad. I had no real financial structure put into place. I didn't tell my money how to behave. I didn't tell my business how to grow. I just did things a bit nilly-willy. And so having a business coach allowed me the opportunity to put together all the readings I had done on business and how to put things together. The business coaching showed me how all the readings I'd done and all the things I tried to put together, how they could go together, stay together in a cohesive manner, and allow things to work a lot more smoothly with less stress from myself and from those that were working with me.
Yeah, so you'd been reading the right things, right? And you'd been searching for and finding things, but not putting them together in a way that made sense for you, or just in a way that drove the business?
In a way that drove the business. It made perfect sense because I understood my field. I understood the rehabilitation medicine field, and I understood why I needed a particular number of revenue generating evaluations per month and why I needed to have a certain number of treatments per month. I understood that it was volume over amount of money being paid, which is dictated by insurance. So no, I couldn't figure out how to keep it together with systems. If somebody had just shown me what a system was or had said, this is a system, I said, oh, that's a system. I use that. Now I see what you mean. So once I started working with you at ActionCOACH, I was able to get systems in place. I had pressure being applied by you. I had pressure being applied by the therapists and by the administrative staff to keep the systems in place and just tweak them until they worked appropriately for our particular business.
Yeah. So have you made any big personal or organizational changes And if so, what have they been since you started working with us?
So the personal changes I've made have been a lot of time management. And I don't know if you call it time management, or maybe it's the same thing I said before, but telling my money how to behave or telling my time how to behave, assuring that most of my hours, working hours, and even early morning hours or early afternoon hours have some type of title to them. Putting everything into a time allows me the time to breathe. So I think when I wrote some notes down earlier, I said, I schedule out everything. As long as my kids tell me about things, I schedule them out. So this gives me plenty of time to do the little things, such as leave early for an appointment and be able to stop and get a cup of coffee. Instead of, in the past, what I would do would hastily stop a meeting, race to the next meeting, rush from there and rush from someplace else, and end my day exhausted. So the personal change I made has been time management, and the professional changes I've made have been assuring that I address issues faster. Has nothing to do with time, just when issues pop up, when there's some kind of friction going on, addressing those things faster, making sure that the person with whom I'm working that has frustrated me or I have frustrated them, they understand that it's not that they're getting in trouble or I'm in trouble, but we're communicating and working through an issue. And putting things in place to make sure that that issue doesn't come up at the same level that it did in the past or not at all again.
Okay.
I hope that made sense.
No, it did make sense. I mean, slotting time, scheduling time, kind of back to your telling my money what to do, but also telling my calendar what to do.
Correct.
Because if I'm not in charge of it, it's in charge of me. I think
that's right.
That happens all the time. So I know we've had this conversation before, but I just want to ask you. So what is something that you share when somebody asks you that question of, you have a business coach? Right? Or why do you have a business coach? Or why did you think you needed a business coach? So what's your answer to that?
Well, usually I'm quite cynical when someone says, you have a business coach? I say, yes, I do. And you should too. I think having a business coach is kind of like anything else we have in this world. It's somebody that holds us accountable. It's somebody that has 1 degree higher in education than you have about whatever subject matter you're working on to improve your understanding. And for the most part, I don't know if I just said this, I love the fact that there's somebody that's holding you accountable. And it's not the kind of accountable like your mom or dad where you get in trouble, but it's the kind of accountability that you keep circling around. Did you get that done? How did that go? Let's try that again. So it's a very positive experience. And if you apply the business coaching ideals to what you're doing, you will see improvement, and your life only gets better because of it.
Love that. And I do love the, yes, I do. And you should have one too.
Yeah. Well, I'll go back. I think Tiffany's another coach with you guys. And what was it we were laughing about? I never thought I was the kind of person that needed a business coach, but clearly I'm the kind of person that needed a business coach. And so it has been probably one of my greatest blessings. Well, the first thing I'll say is there's never a perfect balance. There's always something I'd rather be doing. And sometimes it's traveling with my kids, and sometimes it's at the business. So a little sidebar joke is when our kids were little, my husband and I used to high five when all 3 of them left for school and say TGIM. Thank God it's Monday, because we were so ready to go back to work. So, your balance is never a perfect balance. We all, I think we hear that nowadays a lot, but that's just not the truth. Right. So having a business coach has given me at least the opportunity to decide where and when I want to be at work or traveling or working from home, or when and where I want to get things completed. So I love that. Another thing that's helped with my balance has made sure that when I tell my time how to behave, that makes sure that I schedule my time to do 2 of the most important things, which are spending some time with God or spending some time with gratitude, as well as exercising. And when you can do both of those things consistently, you are going to find that you have a greater sense of calm and focus. And that's going to be a consistent type of thing instead of intermittent. And you wonder why you can't lose weight, or you wonder why you feel so distant from God. If you only do those things once a week, you're never gonna find that true calling, or that true engagement in exercise that makes you feel healthy and well.
Thank you for sharing that. Big fan of gratitude. You know that about me. We talk about it pretty often, but also a pretty big fan of God. So that's good.
Yeah. And there's other little things that aren't in relation to the question you asked about me balancing personal life and business. But the more I parent teenagers, the more I look at particular relationships in my life, one of the biggest things that's come up just this week, so it's not every single week, has been playing above and below the line. So to help anybody that's watching this, below the line is blaming other people, having excuses, and being in denial for an issue that's come up, right? And so above the line is, let's see if I can do this. Everybody's been below the line, so I know that one really well. No, it's not opportunity, is it?
No. Ownership,
accountability, and responsibility.
Yes.
And so with my son, who we've been working with him closely and preparing him to be ready to go to college and setting up his time management and looking at how he can do things better when it comes to schoolwork, I realized that he was playing well below that line and had blame, excuse, and denial for every aspect of his schoolwork. And then today I actually shared with another coach, Tiffany, that I have had to decide to close the chapter on a book with a relationship in my life, because this person is also playing below the line and has done so for 20 years. And so that relationship's no longer worth my time. And so maybe it does relate back to how do I demand those time, balance the time. Sometimes you don't need to give time to other people.
Right. Yeah.
It's been an interesting journey for the last couple of weeks to see how business very much so goes hand in hand with your personal life. Yeah.
So I know you're getting close to getting your doctorate. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes.
But just in that space, so I know you're a continuous learner. Learning is a big part of who you are and what you do. But what advice would you give to either a business owner or a nonprofit organization, kind of executive director, about the need for continuous learning?
So we don't know what we don't know. I learned that years ago, and I think you guys say it as well. I learned that years ago in a course about dementia. And so we aren't all dementia. We aren't all demented. Some of us might walk around like we are, but when we forget things because we have dementia, and the relationship to my world and in the medical world, when someone has dementia and they have a behavior, they don't understand what they're doing because they don't know what they don't know anymore.
Right.
It's inverse. In our world, what I didn't know about business, I didn't know about business. I did the best that I could. But the more I've learned, the better I can do. So one of the other things I wrote down about that was, and even if we think we know there's a lot, we can learn, right? So even though I may feel like I know everything there is to know about stroke rehab as a very skilled occupational therapist in that area, if I go to a beginner level educational course about stroke, I can promise you I'm going to walk away with some nugget of information. So we always have to realize that even if we think we know it all, there's something that we don't know. And again, some things that I've learned from you, watching a short snippet on your social media, you talked about God doesn't want us to remain stagnant. And so in the past, when I always thought about my company and I wondered, should I cap it? Should I stop taking patients at a certain level? This is a lot of work. Do I really want to work this hard? And you called that out so fast, saying, no, you keep going. You're put on this earth to be a blessing to others. You were blessed to be a blessing to others. And so if you choose to be stagnant, that's not what God wants you to do, because he gave you a gift and you don't waste his gifts.
Yeah, share them always.
Yes.
So you answered this question a little bit. I'm going to rephrase it one more time. Just 5 years from now, where do you see your business? But then maybe and then what advice do you have for other business owners who are looking to grow?
So let's see, did I write something down on that? Sorry. Oh, okay. So in 5 years, it depends, right? So when we started with you, you had my husband, Craig, and I write down our goals, which we've always been super big, humongous nerds about doing. We even wrote down extra goals. So let's see, Juliet, my youngest, is 11, 7 years. So in 8 years, we actually plan to sell our businesses and move. So move to our favorite destination location, which is currently Durango, Colorado. But in the next 5 years, I hope to see my business peaking at a certain number of treatments per month, peaking with the income that it brings in so that I can sell it for the most amount of money possible. It should be worth a significant amount by then, thanks to your help and thanks to the fact that our industry is expected to grow because of the baby boomer population wanting to remain an integral part of society for as long as possible. When it comes to other people, other business owners, when I sit back and I think about the fact that I live in a town with, I don't know, the whole town, probably 20,000 people now. I don't know, maybe 25,000. There's like 8 therapy companies in this town, some that have a lot more money than I have to do a lot more marketing. And I've really always known about their presence, but I've really never cared about their presence. I just make sure that I put my head down and I do what I know the population of people that comes to Trio needs. I focus on that. And then after I focus on what that population needs, that builds all of the systems, the marketing efforts, anything else that goes with business starts with what that population needs, what my target market needs. So that's what I would tell other business owners is, and I think you've said it very much so in the past, Rory, there's plenty of room for all of us to serve. I just made sure that I served a population that nobody else was really calling out in the community. And it's paid off in a big way. We're helping a lot of people.
Yeah. So if you take an abundance mentality instead of scarcity and say, there's plenty to go around. And if I serve the people in the right way, they're going to get a benefit and my business will flourish. I think that's a great place to be.
It is. It's a lot of fun. And you know, when you keep your eyes on the cross, you get blessed. And so, and I've said it on podcasts before. I don't think this is a podcast, and I've said it already in this one. When you have been blessed to be a blessing to others, you've got a big job to do.
Yep. All right. So we're going to go into a section called Simple Insight because I like things pretty simple.
But I don't. I have lots of answers if you ask me the book. I've got 6.
So what are you reading right now? Or what book or podcast would you recommend to other business owners?
So because I've been in business coaching, I am now able to be in a book club. So what I'm reading right now is an interesting book called The Shadow of the Wind. I like it so far. I'm about a third of the way through. So that's fun. I finished 2 books in 2 weeks, I think, because they were really just a lot of fun about how to be alone. And that was a girl actually solo camping through the Arizona Trail.
Okay.
800 miles. So that was just a fun read. And The Impossible Long Run about another lady who gets selected to be taught how to run a 50-mile endurance race. Okay. So maybe I might want to do that one day. But the books that I would recommend are my favorite, Atomic Habits.
Okay.
Read it 3 times. And The Power to Change.
Okay.
By Craig Groeschel. You guys introduced me to Craig Groeschel. So not only do I listen to his podcast for leadership, I also listen to his sermon series. He is hilarious, keeps it totally real, but has very good insight.
Yep.
Very good insight. So that would be who I would recommend listening to for a podcast. Yeah. And John Maxwell is quick to the point and has a really great voice. So if you're into the auditory part of it, if you don't want to hear a scratchy voice like one person that we won't name on here out of somewhere, California, he has great insight, but has an unusual voice. So that part drives me bonkers.
That's funny. Yeah. So what has been your biggest learning since you began in business?
That's a hard one. I sent you a message the other day and I made a comment that being a business owner doesn't have to be awful.
Right.
There is definitely a stigma or a stereotype that owning a business is awful. And that if you chose to open your own business, you chose to have a life full of complaining that you're married to your job.
Right.
And when you work through the steps that Action Coach has you work through, you'll start to see that things work when they're put into place. You have to have the energy and you have to focus to get those things in place. And then you have to pay attention to how those things are working and get feedback. So you can't be afraid to put them in place or get the feedback. But once they start to work, you have more time on your hands. And that gives you the time to either do the things, as Marcus Buckingham says, to make you feel more like you, or if you really want to work on the things that you're awful at and you want to get more awful at them, go for it. But otherwise, you get to be freed up to focus on the things where you shine, where you feel like this is why I opened my business.
Fantastic. Great learning.
Yes.
So what's one thing that you've changed your mind on in the past year?
So I had to write that down and really think about it,
Yep.
because it changed what I told you. What I've really changed my mind on is that in the past, what I thought was if I spoke up and told somebody something that maybe they didn't want to hear, that they would be mad. So how I've changed my mind is if I don't speak up, I will make that person mad. And if I do speak up, I will help that person grow. It's all in how you present it.
Yeah. Wow. I probably need to learn that lesson somewhere along the line.
No, you do fabulous. You do fabulous.
Well, Jennica, as we wrap up, just what's the best way to connect with you and Trio Rehab? So
the best way, if you just want to view us on social media, I think is just to search us in the search bar at Trio Rehabilitation and Wellness Solutions. Or you can go to our website at triorehab.com.
Okay.
And if you ever want to shoot over an email, send it to info@triorehab.com. Lots of triorehab.com. Pretty easy.
All right. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed this time and I appreciate the insight that you gave us. So thank you very much.
Thanks for letting me be part of it.
You bet.